Another important aspect of ACT English is the grammar and usage section of the test. It's very important that you know about verb agreement. So singular nouns have to have singular verbs, and plural nouns have to have plural verbs. And there are some tricks that you may see on the ACT. A good example of this is the sentence, "A large amount of people." It may surprise many high school students, does not prepare for the ACT test. To many of you this doesn't sound correct, but the noun of this sentence is amount. And an amount is actually singular. So you can substitute he for this, and then you look at the verb agreement. He does not prepare for the ACT test, and that works. That is actually the correct answer. So there's no change in that answer. So tricky words such as group, flock, team, herd, and army, etc. are actually singular nouns, and so they have to have a verb that agrees with them. Although the ACT does not ask specifically about verb tenses, it is a good idea to know a little bit about verb tenses so you can have an idea about any inferences in relationship to this. So you should know about present, past, and future parts of a verb. You should know that every verb has a past participle, which usually ends in ed or en, and always has a helping verb with it. And you should know that the past tense should never have a helping verb. And sometimes the past tense is the same as the past participle, and at that point it could, but helping verbs are forms of do, have, and be. So an example of this was, I was walked to the store, and the past tense of walk is walked, and so it should not have a helping verb. A better example of this is using the word run. So I run, I ran, and I have run. So the past tense is ran. So I have ran to the store is not correct. You should be familiar with irregular verbs, and these are verbs that have a little bit different, maybe past participle or whatever. So a good example would be I begin, that's the present. I began, that's the past. I have begun, which is the past participle. Some others that you may have trouble with are listed, so you should look through those. These are some irregular verbs, and again, the general rule is that the past participle, you cannot use the past tense of the verb with a helping verb. The past participle is what you use for that. Being familiar with verb forms will really help you on the ACT. Most of us know about the present tense, which is happening right now, and this would be like I write informational text. The past tense is entirely in the past. I wrote informational text, and the future is something that will be occurring later, but it's not yet begun. I will write informational texts. Some other verb forms that you should be familiar with are the present perfect, which describes an action that has started in the past but may continue to the present, and it always has a has or a have plus the past participle of the verb. So I have written informational text is the present perfect. The past perfect is something that happened in the past before another past action, and this is going to have had plus the past participle. So I had written fictional essays before I wrote informational text is the past perfect. The future perfect is completed by a certain time in the future, and it will have will have plus the past participle. So I will have written this informational text by the time I become a senior is the future perfect. Make sure you know the difference between adverbs and adjectives. Adjectives modify nouns, and adverbs modify verbs. So you got to make sure that you have the correct adverb or adjective. And a lot of this is whether it just sounds right. So, for instance, here's a sentence: students work good when they are permitted to collaborate with each other. And again, the word work is a verb, so the word good or whatever should go there should modify the work. And so good is an adjective, so that does not work. And so well is what works here better. And so students work well when they are permitted to collaborate with each other is the best answer. One of the big keys for ACT English is whether the sentence just sounds correct. And a lot of times in English we have little quirks, and they're used frequently, and the rule is that they sound the best. So here's an example. In some countries in the Middle East, the weekend consists in Thursday and Friday, and that does not sound right. And so what we do is we change the in to of, and when we do that, it sounds correct, and that would be the correct answer. Hope this is helpful. Let me know.